Hello. Yes, my name is Natasha, and this is my second talk. Yesterday I did my first talk at the business forum, and I was more nervous yesterday than today, but I'm still a little bit nervous. And the way I feel it is that my heart beat is a little bit faster than usual, and my voice is not trembling as much as yesterday, but still I feel a little bit shaky. And the reason why I'm telling you these intimate details is because this is something I've been working on actively, and this is something that's been empowering me my past few months. And this is something related to the embodiment I'm going to talk about. And as you can guess, embodiment is something to do with your body. And to shake this off, to shake a little fear and a little stress that I have, first I want to start with gratefulness, to say thank you to Dmitry Nikitin School and to Dmitry for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. Practice of gratefulness is a good personal and business practice and professional practice, and this is why I'm doing it now, and I feel much better. Okay, so I'd like to introduce myself so you know my background is a little bit similar to yours in a way that I have experience in teaching English. Although I've been teaching mostly children, I have some experience in teaching adults, so I know the issues and the challenges that you may face. But because of these issues and challenges, I made a decision to to stop teaching children or adults and switch to teaching children. At the moment, I'm not teaching. This year, I'm not teaching. I'm concentrating. I'm taking actually a sabbatical year, an academic year, to study the embodiment topic and to pass on my knowledge and the techniques in this area. So this year I've started my embodiment facilitator course, and I'm going to share the knowledge and the techniques I've learned so far in the course. Okay, and our course, we believe that embodiment is the must-have of the 21st century. Because embodiment approach focuses on development of bodily awareness, which is basically to be able, the ability to actually answer the question, how am I? And to say not just I'm fine, I'm not fine, but actually what's happening with my body. As I mentioned, this is something to do with my posture, with my heartbeat, with my breathing, with the way I see things. And to embody is not only to be aware of how you are at the moment in your body, but also to be able to have the ability to do something about it. And the motto of embodiment practice is body to business and business to body. Your business is teaching, so today we will be talking about how you can use your own embodiment and embodiment of your students to help you in your teaching process. And my first introduction to this area of studies was through the TED Talk. Maybe you're familiar with the TED Talk. Can you raise it? Yeah, you know. Yeah. This is, I love this TED Talk because it's very simple, it's very visual, and it talks about how basically by taking different postures, the alpha postures, you can develop different qualities and the way you do things in life. And Amy Cuddy, who presented this talk at the, she actually talked about it in as her own story of studying in a high-profile university and actually working with her body and doing something to her body helped her a lot to be able to carry on her studies successfully. Oh, wait, what did I do? Aha. And another body person I know and I've planted is Richard Graham, who uses a lot of body type of learning activities in his own courses, and they're primarily for children, but he claims, and I know for sure, that it works just as well for adults. So body is not, is more than just a brain taxi. This is a great quote by Mark Walsh, one of co-founders of our course, the Embodied Facilitator course, and I agree with him 100%. And because body wisdom is not a pure metaphor. Yes, it's actually is the way you do something with the body tells a lot to other people how you are, and reactions of our body determine our perceptions and the way we make decisions. We see the world, we see the restrictions of the world and our own restrictions and opportunities. So for this, to explore this, I'd like you to take on this experiment. So you know these two cartoon characters, right? Yeah? And you know what they are, yes? And roughly you can remember how they speak, yes? And how they move. So I suggest we try on to be a donkey, yeah? So what do you do with your body when you are a donkey, yes? Your back hurdles, yes, your head goes down. What happens with your face? If you try doing this, you will actually research what actually happens. Yes, you're feeling sad, but actually when you feel sad, what do you do with your body? Yeah, you close up, yeah? Your head goes down, you all go down, yes? And if you do this pose, if you take this pose, try to say, yes, life is great. I'm going to learn so many new things today. I'm going to take this test and pass it. Yeah, it doesn't seem possible somehow. Yes? And if you imagine yourself that you are a piglet, yeah, what happens to your body when you think, oh, I'm a piglet? Yeah, you straighten up, your head goes up a little bit, yes? You kind of become bouncy, yes? You have a little bit more energy, and now try to say, oh yeah, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to pass the test. It's going to kill me. Yeah? So you can see the difference. So when something happens to our body, it really restricts us or provides us with other opportunities. So if we take this research a little bit further and try to see what happens when we feel different emotions, yeah? So if you try with anger, can you try to show anger? What happens? Don't be afraid. We all know, yeah. We all know that you're not going to hurt each other with your anger. But just try to do a little research. What happens to your body when you're angry? You get tense. You have fists ready to fight, and your body tendency is a little bit forward, right? So you have this forward tendency. So, for example, if you're feeling sad, we've just explored this. This is something with our body going down. Yeah, the body tendency is about going to the ground. And if you explore the sadness, this is where the depression is. Yeah? And if you think about fear, where fear and how fear is presented with your body, what happens? Trembling, what else? You go back, and can you see my eyebrows? Yeah, the eyebrows go up. Yes? Uh-huh. Okay, and if you, say for example, what else? We have joy. What happens? Smiley face, of course. Open your eyes wide, and what about your tendencies in the body? We go forward, back, we go up, right? Through my embodiment studies, what I've discovered in my own embodiment, that I have this permanent tendency to go a little bit backward. This is something to do with the fact that I've spent many years living and studying in England, and British people have this type of embodiment, is a little bit backward, yes? And my permanent emotion state was something to do with a little fear. It was like, you know, a little, oh, something's going to happen. So just by changing this, allowed me to access a different emotional state on a permanent basis. So what we're going to talk about is about little things. It's not about doing something crazy with your body to be able to create a different emotional atmosphere in your classroom or to yourself, but actually just to do something a little bit, going from a little bit backward to going a little bit forward. And that makes a huge difference. And why emotions are important, we all know about kinesthetic learning, right? But and do you know about this little hippocampus thing that lives in your limbic brain? And the hippocampus is responsible, right, for transferring information into long-term memory. So if we do something with the body to create different emotional states, we help our students and ourselves, if we are in professional development and learning something for our own professional development, to actually integrate the knowledge that we are receiving into long-term memory. And that's important, right? So embodied learning is a robust learning. And you can read a little bit more about embodied learning, and sadly it's a lot to do with children, not the adults, but you can get the principles from there. Yes? And the idea about embodied learning is that it's not just a mental state, yes? It's a whole body living experience. And the more body you include in your work as a teacher, the more effective learning will be, basically. Yes? But we all know that learning is not about fun. Yeah? It's a lot to do about living the comfort zone. This is where the effective learning is happening. Yes? We all know that learning happens where comfort zone ends. And this is where the panic zone kicks in for many people. Yeah? So if we look at this chart, yeah, the comfort zone is where there is a little learning, but also where it's boring and safe and easy. And the discomfort zone is where there are lots of learning, but also it's very interesting and challenging and scary, right? And that must have some effect on our body. Yeah? So challenge means change, and change means challenge. And what challenge does to your body is basically it gives you stress and very often doesn't allow you to go through to the magic zone that we saw, yeah, where you achieve the learning goals that you've set yourself. So let's explore the body reactions, the automatic body reactions that we have to stress and to challenges. And if we talk about people in the old age, and the cave people, the challenges that they faced was the tigers, vicious beasts, lack of food, no shelter. So these challenges were more to do with the kind of the state of living, the life or death experience, right? So the challenge that they faced triggered really strong emotions that still live in our reptile brain, as you may know. And these days, we don't have challenges of lack of shelter for most of us. We have challenges like taking an exam or changing a job or I don't know what else. You can name all the challenges that you or your students have, but they still have the same effect on our body as the challenge that the caveman people had, right? And the automatic body reactions to stress, the 5 of them, are the fight reactions, when we mobilize and try to overcome the challenge. Yeah? Another reaction is the flight, when we make exactly the opposite. So we put ourselves away from these circumstances, we decide that we're not going to take this exam, or we're going to stop learning for this level, etc., etc. Another challenge is freeze, when we basically stop. We stop developing, we stop attending lessons, we stop, yeah, and we freeze. We cannot say anything, and etc. The flop reaction is the one when we collapse. It's a very similar to freeze, but it's just presented differently in your body. Okay? And friendliness is also could be a stress reaction where basically by making a happy face, we try to make friends and therefore eliminate the stress factor from the process, right? And we all have our own patterns, the stress patterns. Have you recognized any of them, by the way? Yeah? Can you remember your students? Can you say that you can see these reactions in your students? Yeah? There are tendencies for like freezing the stress reactions. Some experiences give us very strong reactions, so they kind of freeze in our body. Yeah? And frozen stress reaction in our body basically means lack of choice. It's something that restrains you, something that doesn't allow you to develop further. The good thing, the change is possible. So what can you do about the stress reaction? There are some very specific things that you can do with your body. You can teach your students, yes? And we could try this now, if you like. Yeah? For this, we can stand up. So we just do a little activity so you can get the feel out of it. Yeah? You need to practice this. You need practice centering so it becomes your automatic skill, that you can use it. But for now, you can try to do it and see how it's done. First, we start with the feet, and you have to make sure that you really sense the ground with your feet. Yeah? So if you have this, then we go upwards, and we check that our knees are not straight, then they're not locked knees. Yeah? So you need to make sure that your knees are a little bit bent, so they're kind of flexible, and you're a little bit bouncy. Yeah? Then we go a little bit up, and you check that your stomach is not tense. Yeah, there is a lot of I know. You really need, for the best relaxation, for the best effect, you really need to let your stomach out. Yeah, and I know this is not something that we do typically, but this is something you can practice yourself at home. Yeah, and get the state at least. So what you do, you start breathing with your stomach and make sure that it's not tense. Then we go a little bit up, and we see that your shoulders are not tense. For getting rid of your shoulders, what you could do, you can squeeze them and then let them fold. And then you check that your tongue is moving freely in your mouth. Yeah? So you need to kind of relax your tongue a little bit. The next thing we do is with your eyes. Usually when we stress, we're also very focused on something. The focused vision is something from fight reaction, something when we need to do something. So to get rid of this, you start including peripheral vision. So you start to seeing things in the side. And the way it works, basically, the peripheral vision sends the signal to your brain saying, it's okay, I can control the situation, I can see there are no dangerous animals around. Yeah? So if you try this, you can play with your vision. First, you can focus on one point and then try to relax it, make it as a first, soft vision. And then the next thing, what you do is you, with your top of your head, you imagine that there is a balloon that takes your top of your head a little bit up. So you don't go like this. You don't do it with your chin, but you do it with your top of the head. Yes? And you start breathing with your stomach. Can you feel a little bit difference? It takes some time to develop this skill, but this is how you do it. Yeah, we finished for this practice, and what this little practice gives you the ability to recognize your own stress reaction, to see that my shoulders are tense, you can see what your fist with something doing with your hands. So when you start doing centering, this is something that helps you get out of the stress reaction. Okay, why is it important for learning? So if you remember the circles with the comfort zone and discomfort zone, it gives us this fantastic curve with a strong performance being in the learning zone and being in the zone where there are a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress. So to be able to stay in this zone, you really need to kind of manage your stress reaction. Why is it important for you as teachers? Because when you start noticing how you are and doing something about it, managing your state, This allows you to notice how your students are, yeah, and doing something about it. And why is it important? When you see that your students are in a stress zone, this is an opportunity to maybe adjust your lesson, adjust your activities, change something on the lesson plan, yes, before it's too late. Yes, and the students are the mirror, but also you can be, by managing yourself, you can be a mirror to your students. Yeah. And this is, the next quote is exactly about this. So if you think about a conductor, the way conductor conducts the orchestra is with the whole body. Yes, it's not just with an idea. It's by using your whole body. So start with yourself, ask yourself a question, how am I? Bring attention to your body reactions and patterns, how you usually do things. Notice them and accept and go, oh my God, I'm stressed, because this makes you even more stressed. Yes, and say, okay, I'm stressed, yeah? And think about how I want to be. Do you really want to be stressed and carry on your teaching and pushing the boundaries, pushing the learning limits of your students, or you want to do something else? Yes? So you can manage your state and embody different choices. And the choices that we have fantastic. So yeah, the embodying teaching principles are exactly about this. Develop awareness of your body reactions to stress and different body patterns, centering, and create choices for different ways of doing things. Yeah. And about different ways of doing things, oh, another quote, I forgot about this, I like this. The power to choose is the power to change. Okay, so there are 4 major patterns. Patterns, when we talk about patterns, it's something that we do on regular basis, yeah? And the 4 of them, and somebody may recognize yourself in one of them or 2 of them, and think, oh my God, I hate this. This is really not me. So there is a driver, and you can see from illustration a karate guy, and there's someone who can break through any obstacles, achieve goals, make decisions, and you can see my embodiment, how I'm doing this, yes? And organizer is, on the contrary, somebody who can do something in the long term, right? This is really important for learning English. Do practice, do something daily, structure, yeah, carry on. Collaborator is somebody who can create space for things happening, find resources, connect people, carry out the dialogue practices. And visionary is the person who can give the big picture, who sees how it's all working. So the good thing is that we have 4 patterns. It's not like one person is one pattern and another person is another pattern. No, we all have 4 patterns within our kind of body system, but some patterns are more developed than others. What's more, there are home patterns, so something more to do with your personality, with your character, with the way your nervous system works. So this is also true. But the good thing is that we all have 4 patterns, and 4 patterns are the keys to these amazing qualities. Yes? And 4 patterns have opportunities and restrictions in how we embody or live our lives. So if you look at the driver, and the element, the natural element is fire for the driver. So driver is somebody, or driver is the pattern that allows you to make things happen, as we talked, and to focus on tasks, important, right? But also the restrictions of a driver is when you are becoming too competitive, too aggressive, you're not compassionate, you don't notice how other people feel, yes? If we talk about organizer, this is a great pattern for carrying on, as I said, the stable work over time, achieving goals, right? But it is also a pattern that puts restrictions on your adaptation and generating new ideas. If we talk about collaborator, the opportunity the collaborator pattern offers you is all to do about relationship and resources. But also it puts restrictions because if this pattern is overdeveloped, then it's difficult to keep the boundaries with your students, with work, with the processes. It's difficult to end things and to finish new things. And with a visionary, it's something to do with playfulness, with being spontaneous. But also it's something about being chaotic and not completing things. So you can see by, if you recognize yourself in one of these patterns, do you recognize yourself in one of these patterns, right? And if you feel strongly, negatively, about one of the patterns, it's usually a signal that this pattern is underdeveloped. And it's something we need, well, one should work on. And if we talk about this in the context of a classroom, we can think of it as kind of a possibility to create different energies for different activities, right? So when do we need organizer pattern? Can you give some ideas for what activities? Grammar drilling, yeah, something boring, something that you need to do it without being excited about it, yes? And there's something simple you can do with your body to help you feeling organized, yes? For example, I'll show you this. Just holding your hands like this. Is it okay to photo you? Yeah, it's okay to photo you. Yeah. So you're making a box. You're sitting down, for example, or your students are sitting down and feeling restless, and they cannot start doing this activity. It's difficult for them to start this process, or whatever. It could be their homework. And you can give them this little tip. So to develop your driver energy, and it's better if you start walking and doing this, like for example. If you do it for 1 minute, you will start noticing how you want to change things around the room, how you want to organize things in the room. It's amazing. This is exactly how it works. Go like this. And usually with organizing, you need to work very slowly because it's something about being slow. You go like this. Yeah? And you start noticing, oh, the bags are not in the correct order. So if we talk about driver, so this is quite an easy thing you can do. Yeah? And you focus on one thing. Try do it now. Just try to feel what change it makes to your body. Can you see the difference? Well, you can only see it if you do it. You can't see it without doing it. You can do it at home if you're shy now. Yeah? And it's not about being playful. It's really like you are ninja.
Should you be focusing on fingers or on the...
You can choose any focus. The thing about being driver is when you choose a focus. You can be, focus could be your fingers, focus can be anything in the room. Yes? And if we talk about visionary, and it's about no focus. So for example, if you have a creative task, you need to, or your student has a creative task and he needs to write an essay or do something, you can suggest to your student to walk around the room like this. And it does something different to your body and the way you think about things. It's the opposite of this, trust me. You can play with it at home, I understand. It's not as easy to start doing it with people you don't know. And the collaborator is like this. Yeah? So different embodiment, something you can do with your body to create different patterns. So, and you can be creative and think how you can do it in your classroom. Yeah? Well, for example, the easy task with the driver, you can ask your student to put things correctly on the desk. already sets you in a different framework to this, right? And why is it important to develop different patterns and the ones that are underdeveloped? But basically, it allows you to use different patterns in different circumstances. There are circumstances when we need to be creative. There are circumstances when we need to have the ability to establish relationships. There are circumstances when we need to achieve things and break through obstacles. And there are circumstances when we need to be sustainable and find the ability to work, to carry out our practice. Because we know without the practice there are no results. Also, working with your undeveloped patterns actually increases your energy level, which is a nice bonus. And if you have undeveloped pattern in your system, it's still there, but you can't control it. So, for example, if you have undeveloped visionary pattern, which you cannot control or switch on, switch off, which you cannot manage, then you can find yourself that suddenly you stop doing what you had to do and you start doing something else. You're becoming chaotic. So how we can have an embodied living, embodied teaching practice? I showed you some positions. Literally, you can do something with your body like 1 minute a day. If you need to develop focus, if you need to develop sustainability, if you need to develop the vision, yes, it could be your personal. It's only 1 minute or 2 minutes a day. You can try embodied yoga practice. And you can take on different physical activities, but not just for fun, but with a focus to develop certain qualities. So, for example, if you want to develop the driver qualities, take on karate classes. And don't do it for physical bonuses, but do it with awareness of what qualities it develops in you while you do it. You can take on tango classes, salsa classes, I don't know, bungee jumping, swinging, you know? And the daily practice for this would be meditation, centering, and body scanning. Body scanning is very easy. It's all it takes is just to ask yourself, how am I? And not to say, I'm happy, I'm sad, but actually try to notice what your body does. Where your hands, what is your alignment of your body, what's happening to your head, to your ears, and to your feet. And you can do something with it. So if you find yourself that you have your fists ready to fight, all you can do is relax your hands. And if you want to dive deeper, there is an amazing project by Alexandra Vilvovskaya called ТЕЛЕСНОЙ. Very interesting. They run marathons and different practices to develop different qualities. Short, easy, very easy to integrate in your daily life. Embodied facilitator course, the one I'm taking right now. Embodied yoga practice. If you into yoga, but you want to do it with a focus on developing qualities and patterns, etc. Well, you can take personal coach sessions with me. They're free or for donation until I finish my course. So try it. And there's further reading about patterns. Move to Greatness with a lot of interesting practical exercises, how you can develop different patterns in you. Thank you.